Right, right, right,
I
right.
but I think as far as feeling like just take a step away if you need to.
Yeah.
Definitely walk away. Don't I will never encourage people to bottle things up. I don't want you to be like keep it to yourself forever. Either like take some space, feel what you're feeling, and then like really let out later, but like
Yeah.
make sure you let out. Make
Right.
sure you find that time to
Right.
feel
Right.
what you're feeling. Like don't be like, oh, the my answer's not gonna be like, oh, just don't feel things in front of people. Like that's
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Because I'm the type of person as well. I kind of wear it on my face, and you can tell. And I might be able to hold myself from combusting most of the time in front of people. But I think you and I have talked about how we're big fans of the timeout rule, where it's like,
yeah.
and whether you need to make it like a one-on-one, like with someone you trust, or if it's even in a group setting, just knowing when you need to step away, like you said,
Yeah.
just like,
If you're able to communicate, then
yeah,
communicate it and be like, hey, here's what I need from you. I just need like you to either stop poking me because
yeah.
I'll poke back.
Mine depends on the person, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, either that or just like if you can't communicate it, because sometimes when I'm feeling so much, it's very, very hard for me to speak at all.
Yep.
Like I'll
Yeah.
be very quiet and everyone's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, something about me can't talk about it because there's too much
Right.
happening and things are moving way too fast for me to be able to
Yeah.
communicate that and it's not going to
I
make
agree.
sense. So
I
it's just
think I
step
turn
away.
into a jumbled mess because I talk a lot, and when I get emotions that are too overwhelming to form, I don't have the words yet. Sometimes I try to have the words because either I feel like I should have them or people are pressing me to have them, and then it sounds bad when I try to bring something out, and then it's just
Yeah.
or it's jumbled, and it's like, well, that helped nothing.
Yeah.
So I think feeling that, like, allowing yourself to be silent or to be like, tapped out for a second is okay. It's okay. A lot of what we talk about is like giving yourself the permission to feel things, giving yourself the permission to sit with things, giving yourself the permission for everything, because there's not much in our control in this life. But what is in your control is, how you treat yourself and how you think, or not necessarily how you think, but what you choose to believe. Because all kinds of thoughts, and we've got lots of questions on like OCD thinking and things like, and not okay, and
Yeah.
for you to not feel like you have to carry shame around that, and we're telling you don't.
Definitely.
We wish someone had straight up told us, and at some point people did tell us you don't have to feel
Yeah.
shame about that. Okay, let's see. um when and how did you realize you needed to talk to a professional, and then how did that diagnosis process work? Huh.
For me,
Yeah.
I realized it after a long day of mental knowing what's going on. So I went, they diagnosed me and I left,
Yeah.
I talked about this before.
Yeah.
Therapy is not my jam,
Right.
but I wanted the diagnosis so that I could figure it out on my own, at least
Right.
like call it something instead of like, hey, you're crazy,
Right.
like have an
Right.
actual name for it.
Well, yeah, no, and that's the thing, depending on different types of people, and it's like in different diagnoses, some people just need that. And another question actually that's deep in here, but it applies right now, was someone asked, how can you tell the difference between being a moody teenager, which I definitely understand, being a moody teenager or actually having like serious mental health issues?
Yeah.
And felt back and forth because I kind of had my reality invalidated at a young age. And so I was always told I was just being dramatic, even though deep down I knew something was wrong. I always knew. But I think when you realize that things start legitimately interfering with your everyday life and inhibiting you from being able to function as quote unquote normal, whatever that is, it's very hard to pinpoint it. But that's when it's something to seek
Yeah.
help for.
I see a lot of people asking me what I'm diagnosed with. I have borderline personality disorder, um,
Yes.
BPD.
Yeah. And mine's close. Mine's BP2, bipolar 2.
Yeah. Woo.
A lot of
Um,
people, I've had people be like, wait, so Maddie's BPD, she has bipolar disorder? And I said, no, BPD is borderline personality disorder.
Borderline
Yeah.
personality
Yeah.
disorder.
Yep. Although they sound
It's a
similar.
fun one.
Yeah. And we have some similarities we've talked about,
Yeah.
which helps us connect.
Yeah. I think the difference between that, because a lot of therapists actually hold off on diagnosing people with borderline personality disorder when they're young.
Yep.
Um,
As well as bipolar.
Fun fact, which is complicated and weird that sometimes people can't tell the difference between, you know, I don't know.
Right. Well, I
But
think that, I mean, the same thing with bipolar. They were scared to diagnose me early, so they didn't. They would tell me all these other things, which were also symptoms of what I was dealing with, like ADHD, ADD,
yeah,
OCD, anxiety disorder, and depression. They don't want to wrongly diagnose you or wrongly prescribe you.
yeah,
So it takes time. I think there's definitely, and this is coming from someone who does not have patience as a virtue, but it takes patience. It takes resilience to get the right medication if you require that, or the right diagnosis if you require that.
yeah.
But
I
it's
think
always worth hanging on for.
they're actual deeper mental health issue.
Right. If you feel like you
Once
can't
you realize,
regulate your emotions.
yeah, I think for me, realizing that it was the difference between being dramatic and being moody
Right, right.
was the consistency
Mm-hmm.
of what I was feeling. Of like, I
Right,
started realizing I have certain triggers. When this happens, and then I can't talk, which is weird. Why can't I
yeah,
talk? I talk so much. Like, that's
right,
strange, very off brand for me that I get to a point, and then I'll get to a point where I feel really numb, which is also weird for me. I was like, something
right.
you start realizing the things that are just
You're
like
right.
me in a bad mood, and like this is also just like not something I would like this doesn't
Right. Well, you
feel
start realizing that there doesn't seem to be any rationalization or reason behind why you're feeling the way you're feeling.
yeah,
That's what was a trigger for me. I was like, I would, and it would make me feel to pity me. I legitimately felt like I wanted to die, but I couldn't explain it, and I had no reason for it, and it just made me feel like shameful about myself. I was like,
yeah,
well, I'm ungrateful. It perpetuated the trauma I already had.
yeah,
But yeah, I think once, like you were saying, once things stick out in a way that doesn't make sense,
yeah,
a diagnosis and professional help can help you make sense of things.
definitely.
And I understand that the unknown is probably part of the scariest part. So another thing people were asking about is how do we overcome the fear or shame or embarrassment involved ignoring it on and off my whole life. I would go into therapy sessions and be looked at by psychiatrists, and then it would go away for maybe a year or two, like when I was 14, 15, and then I would visit someone again, and then, and then it was like when it would flare up, that's when it was like, oh, maybe she needs help. And then I would try to get away with being okay. But finally, yeah, when I was 19 and then 21 again, it was too much. I wasn't able to function like normal, and I was scared. And my fear of no, yeah,
It's definitely about outweighing like pros and cons. Like make a fucking list. Like literally write down
right,
like pros and cons. Like
yeah,
um,
I like that.
think
Uh,
about like if you're really struggling and you genuinely feel like either therapy or a
right,
medication or even just talking about it is going to
right.
help, it's worth it. It's
Hmm.
definitely worth it. This is your life. Definitely take care of what you need. I'm sure it's really stressful. It was stressful to me to
Yeah.
tell my parents because neither of my parents struggle with any mental health issues.
Wow.
So I'm like, that's stressful in and of itself because they're
Right.
like, what are you even talking about? Like I've been told I've been dramatic and I've been XYZ my entire life and blah blah
Right.
blah, and nobody was ever like, it's probably an actual problem.
Right. They didn't
But
know to
so
look for it, you
yeah,
know?
but I know what I'm experiencing internally, and you know when something's off. You know the
Right.
difference between like being emotional, because I have times where I'm like, I am just emotional. Like that's a whole
Me
different
too.
thing than my disorder. Like there's sometimes I'm
Yeah.
just kind of sad. But there's a difference between that kind of sad and then my borderline personality sadness, because that shit is no joke.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, yeah. You know the difference. It's true.
it feels different.
Yeah, I have to ask myself whenever I am really reactive or emotional or overwhelmed, I have to sit with myself and go, what's going on in my life right now that could be caused where does that all come from? And a lot of it's really trauma based. And I think that's something I'm interested in now as well, is the difference between trauma based stuff and genetics of like inheriting a mental health diagnosis kind of thing or illness.
Right.
Okay, so let's see. This one's good. How can the younger generation deal with stress and mental health challenges when they can't leave their toxic homes yet? Whew, first of all, I'm sorry. I know how that feels. um, Boundaries are really hard. experiencing, if it's a toxic home situation, it's not okay. And I wish, everyone could just not have to be subjected to unhealthy parents, but hang in there and try to find boundaries for yourself and affirmations for yourself that fight maybe the toxicity that's thrown at you at home. Like lock yourself in your room. I used to do that.
Yeah.
If you have that ability, if you have your own room, and tune into stuff like this, and
Yeah.
like find forums online. Honestly, my friend Jonathan and I were talking about that too, where you can connect to others who are going through exactly what you're going through. I kind of want to start something on the This Is Temporary podcast Instagram page where people can comment and connect with each other in the comments if they want to, just to make that available. I've seen other pages do that, and I've participated in that on some of these, psychology pages where I'm like, I'll see other people talking about like having a narcissist parent and really struggling with that. I'm like, oh, and I'll comment with them and I'll be like, me too, and it's just
Yeah.
good to know you're not alone.
Definitely. I think the way to answer that, like I said before, I'm a very internal person when
Right.
it comes to my mental health as is. So for
Right.
me, it was never an issue to that didn't I didn't feel like talking to my parents in the first place. So the fact that
Right.
it wasn't that big of a deal to
Right.
me.
Sure.
In therapy, I went to like three sessions. My family, we couldn't afford it at the
Yeah.
time. Just like point blank, we did not have the money,
No, it's
even
very
going to
expensive.
like a super
Yeah.
cheap therapist. Like she wasn't the best therapist in the world. Like
It's
we,
hard.
we couldn't afford it. We didn't have the money for that. But that worked out. It was fine because that wasn't my what I
Yeah.
so I think to answer that, if you're in a toxic home, I mean, if you don't feel safe, and I say this with everything, with coming out as queer, all of
Yeah.
this, mental health, if you're not safe, don't risk that. Like, don't
Right.
put
Right.
yourself in danger. Don't put yourself in a bad situation.
Right.
If you feel, but a lot of times we feel more unsafe than we are.
Right.
There's a lot of, like, because I know I was like nervous to tell my parents, and they're like, okay, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think if you just like, again, like you were saying, think about what you're feeling and then break that down. If you're feeling
Yeah.
scared, why are you scared?
Um, does what she needs to do for that. But you still need therapeutic things that don't have to necessarily be therapy. Talking with a friend about it openly is therapeutic. Doing
Yeah.
yoga is therapeutic, like,
Writing it down. If you don't want to talk to somebody
yeah.
else, talk to yourself. Because listen,
Yeah.
I really, really get it. I talked about this before. Like, if I'm about to kill myself, I'm not the person that's going to call a suicide hotline.
Right. Right. I've never called a long, yeah, like, I get so angry that mental health help is not available to everyone on a professional level. Like therapy is expensive, and I'm aware of that. And I know that it is my privilege that has allowed me to afford that. And I point that out to people. And that's why I talk so loud about my experiences. I'm no professional, but I will never stop sharing about what I've learned, because I just wanted to list a couple of them. Maddie and I have mentioned a few of alternative options about finding support groups. I know DBSA is a good one that's nationwide, and see if there are things in your community by just Googling. We've got that search engine at our fingertips, guys, to try to find and connect with other people either online or find, maybe in your city, like one that meets up that's anonymous. And a lot of the anonymous ones are very comforting because you aren't pressured there. You can just sit in. I've sat in on a couple of those, and that was very healing to me. Um, Here's another one, Maddie, for you. How has pansexuality affected your mental health,
Um,
or has it?
I don't feel. I feel like there's no cons,
Right.
and I'm not blind to the fact of how lucky I am for that
Right.
to not be a con in my life.
Sure. Sure.
I have very accepting friends, very accepting family,
Right.
an industry that's very welcoming and very
Right.
accepting. Um, but pros, as far as pros go, being open and honest
Yeah,
feels so good.
it
Feels
does.
be able to be so transparent, especially in an industry when a lot of people want to be in my personal life. It's nice that I
Yeah.
can be like, here is my personal life. Like you
Yeah.
can have it. It's fine.
Right.
I feel zero shame, and I don't feel that way because nobody's ever really shamed me for it.
Right.
And I know a lot of people have had a lot of hate and lack of support. I know
Right.
there's countless stories of queer people that did not have support. But if you're asking me personally, that's just my experience with it. It was worth it. I feel lighter. I feel happier that I can just be so open and honest. It feels nice.
Yeah. Well, and oftentimes when you give yourself that freedom to own who you are and love who you are, and like your like you accepting and loving and celebrating yourself, like almost makes other people, it's like contagious for them to want to do it in return. And I'm not saying in every single case every single time, but I know that seeing people who are confident and own who they are, and they're just like so in love with their life and who they are and who they've worked to be, that is contagious, and that inspires other people to know that they can do the same for themselves, and you do that. And now you have a big old platform, and it makes me so happy.
I know.
Yo,
if you're gay, tell everybody that you're gay. It's worth
this
it.
Madison Bailey, she's the role model for you, truly. I'm her dear friend, and I can tell you that from experience. And yes, I think don't it's so funny. I've never actually said this. I don't know why I'm saying this now. I've talked to you about this, Maddie, and lots of friends, but I'm from the South, and I always kind of knew I was kind of fluid in my sexuality, and attracted to everyone.
I was
It started with
I was
women. Yeah.
I was like, to be honest, I don't believe in straight people. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I said, they're as real as unicorns to me. Like,
Truly. I know that I'm not straight. Like, so I've never made a big deal about talking about it because I think I also, like you, have had the luxury of being surrounded by a group of people who don't care. You
yeah,
know, like it doesn't make a difference. It's I am who I am, and your partner doesn't make a difference in your, sexual orientation either. I'm with a guy who I love so much, and I hope I'll spend my life with him. We'll see. But it's like I'm now that I'm out of the South. To be honest, I live in California, and I have very, very accepting friends. Yeah, it's been easier for me to just accept that part of myself that I always kind of went, nah, nah, and I was like, no, it's true. I definitely have always been a little fluid there.
yeah,
But again, I think talking to people who feel like that has affected your mental health, it is true that people in the queer community, statistics show, will experience more challenges with mental health, probably mainly based on trauma that you go through by your environment. And I'm sorry that that's a factor. But to say to that, what Maddie and I speak on largely is learning to love yourself in all versions of yourself that gives you the freedom to celebrate you and surround yourself with the people who celebrate you, not tolerate you. So yeah. Okay, let's see what's next. Oh, we've got a lot on anxiety and panic, which we know. So let's see. Let's start with, how do you deal with a panic attack in a public place?
Ugh, that's
Have
the
you had to
worst.
do that? I've had to do a
Yeah,
couple of
man,
those.
that shit.
Terrifying. Like a full-blown panic attack. I remember one of the first ones I had, I was in a theater. I get crowd anxiety, and social to some extent. But I was
Yeah,
in a theater in the middle of a show, and we maybe had already had intermission, so I was stuck in the middle of a bunch of people, and I was just like trying to enjoy Singing in the Rain, and I thought I was going to die in that moment, and I was going in my head, my palms were sweaty, I couldn't even move my hands, they were clenched to the
yeah,
chair,
yeah, yeah.
and I was like, my throat was getting thick, and I was like, I'm going to die right here. I don't know what's happening, but I'm actually going to die. And I was like, how fast could I call an ambulance and get it to come here to the theater, because I think I have 3 minutes left. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, in my
Might as
head.
well text everybody and tell them that I love them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times, because of my panic, I've had to accept my fate that I'm going to die in that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think
Um,
the way to do that, if you're in a crowd and you have somebody with you, focus on that one person.
right.
Focus on the person that you're with. Focus on one thing at a time, really, is my
Yeah,
advice
you're right.
for anxiety and panic attack in general.
Right.
Um,
Focus on your breathing. I had to do this.
yeah. If
If you
you're
have no,
alone,
yeah,
breathe.
people will tell you, like, do the brown bag thing, and like, what if you don't have that? I started using my hand, and I literally will breathe in through it. I'll count to 4. I'll go like that. And I literally, in that theater, I think at one point I probably moved myself to doing that, because I mean, I've had a lot of panic attacks at this point,
Yeah.
but with each new experience of them, you get that added layer of hindsight by knowing I made it through it last time, so this time I can make it through it as well. I just have to breathe.
Absolutely.
And like you said,
Absolutely.
find something to distract yourself.
Yeah.
And
Know that it's not going to last forever.
right.
Because when you're in a panic attack, it's very hard to be like, I will feel this forever and ever and ever.
Right.
No, you won't.
Yeah.
You just won't. You'll
Right.
feel it again, but
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
um,
Oh.
just just ground yourself, because it's difficult for me. I know when I'm going to get anxiety about certain things,
Sure.
like
Triggers. What did you say? Like what?
parking.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Especially in
Parking
LA.
is the most consistent trigger I can think of. Nothing pisses me off
Yeah.
more than not being able to immediately find parking.
Right.
Here in the South, you don't know what I'm talking about. You're like, you just pull in the parking lot. No. In LA, that's not an option.
Yeah.
Just pull in the parking lot, not an option.
Uh-uh.
And it gives me a lot of anxiety.
Me
So on
too.
a day where I'm like, I really can't handle this, I Uber.
Yeah. Yep.
Eliminate certain things like that. Also, it's way easier if you know it's coming.
Right.
So make note of things that trigger you. If you're like, hey, this really triggered me, maybe write it down. Maybe be like, so then you're a little bit more prepared.
Yeah.
Or for me, like, you'll give yourself an extra amount of time
Mm-hmm.
to find parking, or you'll give yourself, figure out what it is that's consistently doing these things,
Right.
and try to, it's hard to find control over things like that, but if you know what it is, you could have a little bit more control than you would have.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a lot of what mental health is about. And the mental health care that we work on is about finding where we do have control.
Yeah.
Honing in on that and empowering ourselves so that, the next time we feel more prepared to handle, more equipped to handle what we have to work with, So what about, what can we do to help anxiety in your home or in private, especially during all this?
Yeah, that's way easier than doing it in public.
Right.
We've talked about this before, of physical movements.
Yes, definitely. Getting out of your mind and into your body by literally jumping up and down, jumping jacks,
like
dancing.
If you're just sitting there thinking, because I'm one of those people, if I'm so anxious, I want to go like this.
Yeah.
And I want to sit there and
that makes it worse.
About it.
Yeah.
And meditate on that. But if you want out of that, move around,
Yep.
Dance party.
Take an Epsom salt bath if you can. If you think that'll help. I think
you could really do anything. You could get out some bubbles and blow bubbles.
Yeah. Make yourself laugh if you can. Like, be ridiculous to the point where you crack a laugh. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a place where I didn't think I was capable of laughing that week. And I laugh a lot. So I have to be pretty messed up to not be able to laugh. And I'll do something ridiculous, whether it's just like dancing like an idiot. I mean, whatever it is. And I'll be like, I didn't know I had that in me right now. And it'll make me laugh. And then it'll start that process of snowballing back to, hey, I can get back in control here. Yeah. Or, I can, I'm not far gone. Yeah.
Whatever. Do something else. Yeah. I mean, me sometimes, make yourself laugh. That's a good one. Listen, there are times where I'll be sitting there crying, like tears in my face, and I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, and I'm like, wow, Bonnie, you were so fucking stupid. Like, and I'll crack myself up.
Me too. I'm like, you're ridiculous.
Dude, and I look crazy to anybody else, but I'm alone in my room. If I want to cry and stop and then turn on some music and twerk it out, man, do it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
Because it'll get you out of that headspace.
Yes.
Some of these things you could probably keep to yourself. There's definitely times that I've done some weird shit. And I'm just like, never gonna tell anybody that.
Do you know what I do? This is gonna sound really, really stupid. And I normally am like too moody to get to this point, but I'll literally do, like, I like to do impersonations, and I'll be in my mood, externally processing in like Miss Swan voice. I'm not kidding. And it makes me feel ridiculous. And so then I'm like laughing, and it's like I can laugh at myself. Like, I can make fun of myself right now because this is too much. And if I start literally like, I hate myself, it's like, and that's funny. Even when I'm mad, I'm like,
Especially when you're alone, man. Lock the door. Do some weird shit, man. You'll get out of it. If not, go on Instagram and scroll. If that's what's giving you anxiety, get off Instagram.
Yes. Scroll on the good accounts, the affirming accounts.
Go get a TikTok, man. Get a TikTok.
Really?
That's the only time I'll give that advice. But seriously, TikTok's a good time, and it's distracting. I guarantee.
I don't have a TikTok. I do have friends y'all send me TikToks, and I'm like, oh, I'll watch that, but I don't have one. So I'm like, my mind is already everywhere. I feel like I don't need something else to. But if it's good for whoever else,
do that. Go to Netflix, watch a show. Go watch Outer Banks.
Yeah, seriously, guys, go watch Outer Banks.
Yeah, man.
Who's got the most account? Like, how many times you've seen it?
Right.
Okay, so what was I gonna say? Oh, one more with panic attack. Someone asked, do panic attacks mean that you have a mental illness? And I I think the answer to this is not necessarily, because you can have a panic attack without having a mental illness, because things in your life can give you, you know, within reason, a panic attack. And also people
Right.
who have them could have no reason behind it. But I think it may be like a sign, if you have ongoing ones, that there's something else there, like an anxiety disorder or PTSD or something. So,
I think
yeah, if it's
again,
ongoing.
consistency of it. You
Right,
start to notice patterns. You start to notice certain triggers. Like you'll know. But if you
right,
have like one standout panic attack, then I don't think you should immediately think it's
right, right.
that.
Right, I feel you. I mean, I've had to go to the ER
Especially
for
if it was
one. So
reasonable.
yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that they're terrible, but I don't think that immediately means that there's a mental illness there. But it can be. It can be a clue.
Yeah.
Um, we had a bunch of questions about working on loving yourself and dealing with body image, like body dysmorphia and eating disorders. So, how do you, people, and I have you dealt with those, Maddie? I know I have a little bit. Definitely
Um.
dysmorphia, a little bit on the eating
Yeah.
disorder
A
side.
little. I don't think I've ever even talked about that at
Oh,
all.
really?
Yeah. No. Like even to you, I don't even know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like middle school, I was struggling with that. In
Oh,
like
okay.
eighth grade, I was like, I don't know what to. I think I never talked about it because I didn't really know what it was or what
Sure.
I was working through in my brain. Like, I don't really know
Right.
what was happening. All I know is I was writing down every single thing I was eating, how much calories was in everything, keeping
Wow.
like a strict track on it. Like,
Right.
I was eating probably like 200-ish calories a day
Oh my God.
for like a while. I don't know what
Yeah.
it was because, like, I don't know. That's something about I haven't ever figured out. It was like eighth grade.
Right.
I like kept it in a binder. Like, I was like
Yeah.
consistent. It
Yeah.
was
I've
very
done
strange.
the same obsessive thing where I
Yeah.
remember I never went I mean I went days where I wouldn't eat, but I whenever I went into my routine of obsession, because I think balance is hard for bipolar people, so I had extremes where I would just eat like 500 a day, more like where I could feel like I could get away. I went through, and I know this is like probably more like an Urban Dictionary way of describing this, but runorexia, where I literally would run and exercise so much and not eat enough so that I would see a difference, but I wasn't giving myself the nutrition that I needed.
Yeah.
I was just obsessing over different things, which also falls in line with a little bit of OCD that
Yeah.
complains into being control.
I think
Um,
that's why I've never been like I had an eating disorder because
right,
it feels more like an obsessive thing of like this is something that I'm writing down and I was like
right,
getting into like the list part of it and like counting my calorie part of it
yeah,
versus being like I don't really like my body so this is why I'm doing it,
right.
you know. So
Okay, so you never
it was
had like dysmorphia or anything?
yeah
Okay,
it was less that and more of like I
maybe it
don't
was a
know.
control thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's hard to feel in control at that age, you know?
Yeah.
Being a teenager is tough, guys. You guys are strong and resilient because that's a tough freaking age. You don't have the experience and hindsight yet to look back and be like, I got through it, so I'll keep going. You're pioneering it right now, for
Right.
those of you who are under the age of like 18. Yeah, I've dealt with body dysmorphia, I think, a lot in my life. And I just felt like I never was gonna love myself. I was like, I will never like the body I have. And that's why, and I'm also the I guess oppositional side of that was, as a number 4 in the Enneagram, I'm very real and unique and like I want to be authentic. So I'm like, but I can't like edit myself. And so I was just like, but I need to. And
Right.
I have my therapist, actually I have this right beside me. My therapist, or psychiatrist rather, recommended this book to me, Embody, Learning to Love Your Unique Body. It's actually a really good read. I did not want to read it, especially in the middle of me like really struggling and feeling like if I could just love my body, I'd be fine. And the truth
Yeah.
was, with depression, that's not the answer. Like, you love yourself, yes, you can work on it, but depression is depression. You can't just, there's no magic way to heal it all. It's there. You just have to find
Right.
ways to manage it better and to find those little areas where you can have a little more control and empower yourself to know that it's going to be okay. It's going to pass. And I'm going to love myself through it in this version too. Yeah. Um,
I don't know if I have the most advice on that, like loving your body. I think right now, actually, I'm in the point where I've dislike my body more than I ever have. With
Really?
quarantine and everything, and just like
Well, and too,
not.
maybe being on a big scale, that's hard. You like being on a big platform, you probably feel like you have more scrutiny. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with social media, but your body's amazing, first of all. But I understand the personal struggle because people would tell me, Lacey, are you kidding? You're small. You're a small person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not what it is. You know, I was like, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I've been tiny. I've gained a lot of weight. I've been all across my personal spectrum. And at all points, I've hated myself. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Just like love yourself. The
Hmm.
best advice I can do or say is like wear things that make you comfortable. Like
Yeah.
I know the things that I wear that don't make me comfortable, but
Yeah.
there are plenty of items that I still own that I put on. I'm like, I feel really good in this.
Yeah.
Maybe a bathing suit isn't for right now for where I'm at mentally because I'm just
Sure.
gonna be fucking mean to myself. Like I
Exactly.
don't put on anything. Don't if you know like, hey, I'm not feeling great. Now is not the time to make it worse and be like, I wonder if I can still fit in those jeans. That like just maybe try it later.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing that. I'm like, this was a little tight on me, and I think I'm gaining weight. I should try this on and see if it still fits. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Absolutely don't do that to yourself. And don't get on the
Avoid that.
scale.
Yeah, maybe now's not the time. You know, it honestly, if you think you look okay, don't get on the scale. Don't
Yeah,
worry
yeah,
about the
that's how
number.
I do.
Don't worry about the number.
I go, how do
I
I
don't own a scale.
feel? You
I
know?
don't own a scale because I know myself and
Me
I know I'm
either.
gonna obsess over it. I know I'm gonna stress myself out. I know I'm gonna
Yeah.
get on it every day. I'm gonna get on it multiple times a day for no freaking reason
Yep.
other than to like be mean to myself.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I don't know one either. Why
you
would
know,
I? Come
if
on.
you look good and you feel good, keep it that way. You know,
Hmm.
don't look for more reasons to make yourself feel bad because I do that.
Right. Okay, so we had a lot of questions as well on self-harm. Um, we had some asking, how do you move forward from self-harming and prevent yourself from doing it again? And what are some good distractions? And I thought